Welcome everyone. My name is Olivia Roth and I'm the Associate Director of Student Affairs and Recruitment for Penn Engineering Online Learning. I'm delighted to have two special guests with us today. They are current students in our MCIT Online program. A few notes before we get started. We are having a Zoom webinar. So what this means is that the participants will be able to communicate with us with the chat tool. So if you have questions for myself or our special guests, there's a special tool called Q&A that's on my screen. It's at the bottom, but it should be in your menu. So if you have questions, go ahead and post them there. And if it's a quick answer, my team will just go ahead and answer it by chat. Otherwise, we'll save it for the end and answer it in real time. If you're joining us on the phone, there's not a good way for you to submit questions at this time, but we will be recording this and posting it later for everyone to watch and absorb. And so also a quick note that we are, like I said, recording, so we are open to whatever questions that you might have. So just a little bit of background and context to get started. I thought I would quickly go through just a brief 5-minute couple of slides about MCIT Online for those of you who are not familiar. That way our conversations with Angela and Ben will be a lot more helpful and meaningful to you. So if you're already familiar, just hang on just for a few minutes. We will be back to regularly scheduled programming very soon. But for now, I'm going to share my screen and tell you a little bit about this program offered by the University of Pennsylvania. So the Online Master of Computer and Information Technology is a master's degree from Penn. It is a computer science degree designed for people without a computer science background. So it's a little bit unique in that way. To be eligible, you need a bachelor's degree, and it does not need to be in engineering or computer science. It can be in any field. We're just looking for quantitative ability and interest. The cost is about 1/3 of the cost of the on-campus program. And like I said, it is a University of Pennsylvania diploma, so it's actually the same diploma that the on-campus students graduate with. A few more things about our program. The way it's structured is that there are semesters. So there's spring, fall, and summer semesters. Summer is optional. There's weekly and bi-weekly deadlines typically. And then, but within those deadlines, you can work on the material at your own speed. All the lectures are pre-recorded and on demand, and there are real-time sessions, but they're all optional. We have a robust online community within our students. We have tailored career services and networking opportunities, and those are all starting to expand and grow as our program gets more mature. And the program is eligible for federal financial aid, although Penn itself does not offer financial aid or scholarships. So here's some more of the money information. You could see there are 10 courses in the program, and each one costs $2,500. Then each course also has a fee of $130. So you pay per semester based on how many classes you take that semester. And you can see if you were in a particular semester taking one course, how much it would cost versus another semester you might take 3 courses, how much that might cost. So all of that information can be found on our website. There's information on Coursera's website, but this is kind of our home page. And we have a very comprehensive FAQ section within a search bar. So I definitely recommend checking that out because a lot of commonly asked questions are found there. You can also contact our admissions team at this email address listed below, and they are very responsive, very friendly, and very helpful. So the fall 2020 application deadline is coming up, and it was, well, it is May 1st. And just a note with that is that in addition to pressing submit on your application, we also need to receive a minimum of 2 letters of recommendation by that date. So we need to receive all of the required materials by then. So that was a very, very brief overview, but I at least hope that it gives some context for the interview that we're going to be having. We have, our program started in January of 2019. So the online MCIT is a little over a year old. The on-campus degree has been around since 2001, I believe. So it's very well established. But online, we're able to accommodate a higher number of students, students who might live all around the world in different time zones, and people who are perhaps working full-time or part-time in their careers. So we're really excited to expand access to this degree and to this field of computer science. It's also really nice for people who want to pivot in their career, and you'll hear about some of that from our students today. I see a question, what is meant by quantitative ability? What that means is the ability to think strategically. So it's mainly related to kind of math and science classes. So for example, maybe you were, I mean, I was a theater major, but I also chose to take calculus in undergraduate. So our admissions committee would say, okay, good. She took calculus. She can at least know her way around a little bit with math, or might be a little bit interested in math, or good at it. In fact, we have a course on Coursera called Computational Thinking for Problem Solving that is, it really walks you through the basics of how to think like a computer, essentially, and just really sort of the very beginnings of programming in Python. So if you're trying to assess whether this program might be a good fit for you, that would be one way to get started. Okay, so let's start with our current students here. So we have 2 people with us today who were very generously agreed to help us out and say hello to all of you. So let's just get started by having them introduce themselves and just say where they are, how far along they are in the program, where they're currently located in the country, I mean, in the world, I guess. So let's start with Angela.
Okay, hi everyone, I'm Angela. I started the program in the first cohort in January 2019, and I've been taking 1 class at a time, so on the snail's pace, so I'm in the 4th course right now. I started the program when I lived in Shanghai, China. I was working there, and I've since moved back to the US, so I'm currently based in San Francisco.
Hey everyone, I'm Ben. I live and work in Los Angeles right now. I'm also 4 courses in. So the 4 courses, I guess, that we've probably taken, I don't know, I'm assuming that we're doing them in the same order, is intro to like CS, discrete math, computer systems, and data structures. I think those, at least those are like the topics of like the first 4 courses. And yeah, that's my brief intro. Over.
Whoops, I'm still on mute. Okay, thank you. And I will just say they are both happen to be in California. That's mostly just a coincidence. Like Angela said, she has lived in, I think, a few different places during this program so far, and probably more in the future. So it's pretty cool that she's been able to continue with the schoolwork regardless of where she lives. Okay, so tell us a little bit about your background, like what your undergraduate major was in, and how you got interested in MCIT Online? Let's just go in the same order each time.
Okay, so I did my undergrad degree in biology, but after I finished university, I didn't actually work in that field. I was working abroad in international education. So I became interested in technology and computing because I was interested in educational technology. I was thinking about how to expand access to my students and expand access to knowledge. And kind of ironically, I found my way to this program, which does exactly that, but I'm now on the receiving end of that. I started taking online computer science classes at a different university in an undergraduate level in, I think, 2018. And I was doing it online because I was abroad and I didn't have really other options. And I found out that the MCIT program was starting an online cohort 2 summers ago and decided I would give it a try and applied. And that's how I found myself here.
Yeah, so my background is I studied architecture at Harvard, and I've been working in the games industry since then. So I work for like PBS Kids and Rockstar Games, so which are actually very opposite companies. One's like games for kids to learn, and the other one is like you're shooting guns around. So opposite ends of the spectrum there. But basically, I was like a game designer by trade, and I just found that the more in all my game design jobs, I always had to code something. And I felt that was an aspect of like my education that was certainly missing. And I was able to figure things out, but I felt like that was really a very necessary and needed component for me to continue to advance in my career. So this just perfectly fit into that slot. And so basically, I learned to code through like my internships and the jobs I got since graduating. But I really wanted a solid foundation. And this is where like the MCIT degree came in for me.
Great, thank you. Yeah, I mean, I just can't emphasize this enough, but we love all kinds of diversity in this program. And so I think one of the things that's really exciting is admitting students from all kinds of different backgrounds. I mean, I think some backgrounds might lend themselves more naturally just because they are more quantitative, but I think also many people were not necessarily aware of computer science as an option, or they, yeah, for whatever reason, are finding now that it's very relevant to life, and perhaps they have the aptitude after all.
Yeah, definitely. One thing I would probably add is like I started getting interested in computer science like my senior year of my undergraduate degree. And so I took like one course in computer science and I was like, wow, this is really cool. But I'm just getting interested in this as my formal education is coming to an end. So, you know, that was also like something that I felt like my education in computer science was cut short because I found it so late. But the MCIT degree provided a great opportunity to like dive right back in. So.
Yeah, and I also think that in terms of an employer looking to hire our graduates, I mean, we have people who have these really cool, interesting mixes of backgrounds, right? And I think that somebody who maybe had a more, I don't know, let's say liberal arts background, that part of their brain is very developed, and now they have this technical part of their brain developed, and they can really live in either of those worlds and bring all of those abilities to bear on a problem solving team. And so
Yeah, I should probably add, I said my undergrad degree was in architecture. Like technically the full title was history of art and architecture. So not technical at all. Like it was very, humanities oriented. So the courses I'm taking now are very distinct from what I took in undergrad.
yeah, I'm guessing it might be similar for you, Angela, too, if your background was in education more so.
That's right. So I did have a STEM degree, but I guess the biology degree is very different from courses or from engineering degrees. And so my courses were mostly in the life sciences. I don't even know if I took a single math class the first time around in undergrad, but I did take an undergrad level discrete math class prior to this program. So I had a little bit of, I guess, warm up to the courses here.
So, okay, the next question. Tell us about your current job situation, whether you're working or doing an internship.
Yeah, so the reason I'm in San Francisco is that I'm completing an internship this semester. I'm working at Lyft on the data infrastructure team, and my internship is going to go from January to May. So it's the full 4 months. And a little bit about what my team does. We build the data platform for people who are data engineers and people who create data products for other engineers on our team. And from there, their work goes to the data scientists. So we're like several levels back and creating the tools and the platforms required for the data scientists to take in all the data that Lyft is ingesting and making some predictions and some use out of it.
Yeah, so currently I'm working for a tech startup. It's actually an education technology startup. So kind of going into maybe the fields that Angela started out with, with education. So right now my company's named Embellis, and we build these like game-like interactive assessments. So a simple way to think about it is like you go in for a job, they tell you to play this video game. It measures like how good your problem solving abilities are, how good your critical thinking is, and then it'll give you a score, and that'll help determine whether or not you got the job or not. So yeah, it's like an assessment you can find. Like if you're interviewing at McKinsey, you'll probably like have to take our assessment. So it's interesting because I started like in game design, and now I'm kind of going more towards education technology and more towards like an engineering side of like my role's been changing from design to like more technical. And I think the MCIT degree is definitely also pushing me in that direction. So that's what I do now.
Yeah, just to add on to that, I think so when I was interested in educational technology, I looked at some master's programs in that field, and I talked to some students who are at this program, similar to what you all are doing here today. And I realized that the people who were doing the kinds of things that I wanted to do were the ones with a technical background and people who knew how to program. And that's why I decided to kind of fully commit to a computer science degree and see where it takes me. And Lyft is kind of in the transportation realm, mobility realm. And it's been really interesting to kind of be able to explore all these different fields.
A quick follow-up question for Angela that I see here. Did you feel prepared to take the internship based on what you learned in the MCIT Online program?
Yes, and I would say that hopefully the employer felt that I was prepared as well when they accepted me to this internship program. I applied last fall, so I actually applied when I was in the third course of the program, and I realized that I was kind of on the same page more or less as undergraduates who were on a more traditional path to getting their bachelor's in computer science. I felt that I've been really prepared for the internship program itself, and the application process did require some extra work that's more related to the intricacies of applying to software engineering roles. But the internship itself, I feel that I use information that I've learned from the first 4 classes every day. So that goes from knowing Java, which my internship is in, to some things from the discrete math class, and even the computer processing class. We do things related to like bits and bytes and the computer processor, and I thought it's all been a really great background to my internship.
Thank you. Okay. That actually kind of overlaps with the next question I was going to ask. Well, I'll just say, how do you think this degree will benefit you in the future, or what, another way to say is, what do you hope to do, or how you would change your career trajectory with this?
I guess for me, I'm one of the students who wanted to make a career transition, and we have students in many other aspects of, or in many other, with many other goals. And I've, I guess, been lucky to be in a position where I'm able to take these internships and really utilize the status of being a student to try different companies and intern at with different positions. So I hope to kind of be able to use the electives that we'll be able to take after our core courses to see which fields I might be interested in later on. And I think another thing that this program really provides me is confidence. So I know there's this imposter syndrome that everyone really feels. And I do think it's certainly possible to do the job that I'm doing now without a full degree. But for me, I think it's really helped to have that full foundation and technical background that the program has provided. And I think that will kind of follow me throughout the rest of my career.
Yeah, just to piggyback on that, I agree that like the confidence boost is like a very important and substantial part of it because you know, you want to feel like you're on a level playing field when you're like discussing some coding concepts or math questions with other people. And I think they'll also give your word a little bit more credence, whether that's right or not. But yeah, and like at my current job, I've already seen like it seems to have like a positive effect on my career. I got like promoted just last month, and one of the reasons they cited was like, oh, Ben is like even taking, you know, courses after work. So like he's like trying to become like a better technical designer. And so and then also like people are aware that like, you know, I'm taking these courses, so I'm like very serious about investing in my progression as a programmer. And just knowing that like people in my company are like aware of that, you know, I think that also helps because then I get presented with like opportunities to work on different projects that maybe they wouldn't have considered me for. And also my company is like very multidisciplinary, so we have like different teams. Some are like our machine learning team. We have like data scientists, and basically like the common language that's often used for a lot of the more technical stuff is like actual math. Like, you know, you'll see symbols and shapes and stuff. And I didn't feel I could contribute to that really before. So when they would like post something to review, I didn't really know how to review it. But right after taking the second course in this program, discrete math, I just feel a much greater fluency in like the language of math. And so now I can like discuss some of those concepts. And even if, you know, my opinion isn't like, you know, an expert's opinion, I at least know what's going on in my company now. So that's a good feeling. And yeah, just generally looking forward into the future, I do think that it'll help tremendously with like career advancement because there are positions that, you know, require a master's degree in computer science. It also helps you stand out, especially in a field like game design where people are coming from like lots of different backgrounds. Not everyone has a master's in like computer science or a technical degree. So that really helps you stand out from the pool of applicants and candidates, I think. Yeah.
Great, thank you. Okay, my next question is, what kind of student do you think this program is for?
So I would say that in terms of background, I think this program is for really any kind of student. Olivia talked about this previously in terms of diversity, but I think that's been one of the biggest benefits of this program is being able to meet students from all different walks of life, different countries, people with kids, people who are younger, and just learn from them and hear about their different experiences. In terms of personality or like personal characteristics, I'd say that the program is really geared for students who are kind of independent learners and able to engage really well online. And I think that's for obvious reasons, but to really think about if you're able to kind of throw yourself and dedicate yourself to learning kind of an independent way with the guidance that is given through the program.
Yeah, this program is for you and you and you and you know? But honestly, yeah, I think like if you're interested in the subject matter and you're willing to make the commitment, I think you'll reap a lot of benefits from this program. And I think, you know, like Angela says, it does require initiative because you're like working remote, which is actually like not so different from like maybe a real life working situation. But if the more you invest in the program, the more you'll get out of it. So if you have that initiative and like are deliberately like looking for like opportunities, I think there's like a plethora of opportunities here to be taken advantage of. And also like connections you can make. Again, like you're a remote student, so it's not like you're just going to bump into someone in the hallway because you're just in your own house. And that's probably a family member you're bumping into. But you know, we have like Slack channels and like you can like Zoom people, and I've made like some pretty good friends today. So, and also I would say like you don't need previous coding experience. Like if you don't have any coding experience, maybe like the first few semesters will be more challenging for you. So maybe don't like load up on too many courses then. But like, yeah, I think if you make the commitment and you have the initiative, I think you'll really excel in this program.
Related to that, do you have any advice for people who are applying?
I guess two main pieces of advice. One is really think about what your goals are for this program. I mean, in general, that's good advice, but especially for this program, think about what you're trying to accomplish, and then maybe look on LinkedIn and look for people who are in the online MCIT program. I think all of us are really happy to share our experiences and see if you can connect with somebody from a similar background with similar goals. And I'd also say to try out online learning for yourself. So Olivia mentioned there is a computational thinking course, and it kind of gives a good sense of what to look forward to in the program in terms of lectures and the course flow. If you have some more time, a longer course in whatever subject matter you would be interested in would be really interesting and just help you understand if this is the right kind of learning environment for you.
Just a quick sidebar. Did either of you take the computational thinking course? I'm not sure if it was even completed by the time you were applying.
I took it. So I found it's shorter and easier than our courses, to be honest. But I thought it was a really good introduction to what the course structure would look like, because I really wasn't sure what to expect. And one of the professors who teaches one of our courses teaches that course, and it's really structured in the same way that our courses are structured. And it honestly made me feel that the program was going to be good, and that the video quality and the quality of lectures would be up to par.
I did not take it, so I have nothing to add to that.
Okay, but Ben, do you have any?
Oh, that's right. The question, it's still my turn to answer the question. Yeah, definitely see if this program lines up with your goals. Like, I think you should be pretty concrete about that. Like, what are you looking to get out of this program? Whether it's to advance at your current company, whether it's to pivot to a new industry, and a very good way to like go about that is like ask people at your company, like discuss your plans with like someone who's either your mentor or your manager. Like, does this make sense for me? And they can give some insight. I certainly did that with a lot of people whose opinion I value. And then also you really need to assess if you can make the time commitment, because I think for me, I actually underestimated the difficulty of this program. I don't know. I just thought it would be easier than it is. And I guess since the subject matter is so distinct from what I studied in undergrad, it's definitely been challenging here or there. So just make sure that you are allotting the sufficient time, and you're aware of what sacrifices you're going to make, right? Like maybe you don't go out like every single night now because you have to like study, or you don't watch Netflix for the next 2 years, but you do get a degree at the end of it. So it's like a fair trade. So that's just something that you'll have to like subjectively like evaluate for yourself, and come to a decision.
Yeah, a lot of people ask how much time to expect, and it's such a hard question to answer because I think it varies based on a lot of different factors. In a very, very broad range, I would say it's like 10 to 20. So you could say about 15, but again, there could be a situation where, let's say you don't have, let's say you have some math background. Oh, maybe the math class is a little bit easier for you, so that's on the lower end. But then maybe there's a programming assignment that you're stuck on, and you could easily spend 25 hours in a particular week debugging something. So that's what I mean. Feel free to add more to that if you'd like.
Yeah, I would just say that it's highly subjective because everyone's coming with a very distinct background. I think you will be able to assess it after like taking your first 2 courses. So maybe the first semester is going to be a little rough for you while you like acclimate, but that should give you a good idea of the workload.
Yeah, I always tell people to be more conservative on their course load in their first semester, because like Ben said, you're getting used to a lot of different things all at once.
Yeah,
And
me personally, I can't ever imagine taking more than 2 courses with a full-time job, but there are students who are doing it. So, everyone varies. So.
Yeah. Okay. What do we have next here? What has been your favorite part of the degree experience so far?
Okay, so I'm just going to put in a little plug here because this is my favorite part of my degree experience, but I was able to co-found and lead a student organization It's called the MCIT Online Student Association, and it's just for our online community. And we were able to get it officially registered with the university last fall, which is really exciting. We hold hackathons, career panels. We're hoping to start a mentorship program soon. So we're just hoping to really bolster the online student experience and student community. And I've seen that that's something that a lot of you all are asking too on the Q&A. So it's been my favorite part because I did really want to, even though this is online, to feel that I was part of an online student community and one where I knew a lot of classmates and participate. And certainly maybe that's not the case for everyone. I understand some people have different goals, but for me and for many of our classmates, that was a priority for us. So it's been really, really fun to work with classmates outside of class, create events and programs for everyone else, and really be kind of plugged into the heart of the community.
Yeah, also a big round of applause to Angela for having like set up that organization. I think it's like a great contribution to like the MCIT community. And I think that like, you know, in some ways, Angela might be like kind of one of those ideal students for this program because she definitely has that initiative, you know, and she's like down in an organization. So that's a very concrete example of like a great attitude to have when coming into this program because, you know, you're just going to get more out of it that way. So, yeah, for me, my favorite part, I haven't founded any organization yet, but I have had the opportunity to be a teaching assistant, which I found to be amazing, honestly. I think I'd always wanted to be a teaching assistant in my undergraduate career, but never made time for it. And now it's been great because it's kind of given me the chance to, well, it's kind of forced me to invest more into the program, like more of my time and attention. So now I'm like constantly like reaching out to students and helping them and explaining the problems and stuff. But it's great because now I have like more face-to-face, like FaceTime connections with students in the program. And some of them will eventually, you know, some of them are taking courses at a more rapid pace than me. So soon they'll be like taking the same course as me. So maybe we'll team up for like projects. But anyway, so students I know more, teaching assistants I know now, and also like the faculty I know better. And it's just been great because I think one of the things you want to fight with like an online program is that feeling of like isolation and being remote. And I think going to office hours, connecting with like a student organization or attending webinars, like that's so important because it makes you feel more connected. And the more connected you feel, the more like support, the more resources that you'll feel you'll have available to you, and you'll just have a better experience for doing that. So, and being a teaching assistant is also great because you got to take the course again. Sometimes when I'm taking a course, I feel like I'm just playing catch up and like struggling to learn the material. And the second time I'm like mastering it. So imagine if you could take the degree twice, you know? But yeah, so it's been a great experience for me.
We've touched on this a little bit, but how do you balance your coursework with your personal life and professional life?
I'd say the primary way I do that is by just taking one class at a time, to be honest. I know there are people who have different priorities, and there are people who want to finish the degree sooner so they can move into the industry faster or something like that. Just for me personally, I've enjoyed just taking one class at a time and really being able to like sink my teeth into the material and kind of feel like I master it. And in another sense, I think something Ben touched on earlier is going to live sessions. So I kind of keep myself accountable by signing up for those office hours with TAs or my professors, or going to open office hours. We also have something called recitation, which are optional live sessions that our TAs and professors hold every week, going over some material or doing practice sessions. And I feel like that really keeps me on my toes, and I can't just fall behind and do everything over the weekend if I'm attending these live sessions.
Yeah, for me, you know, similar to what Angela's saying is like you find like what pace you want to work at. For me, it's 2 courses a semester. And I think that's like what I'm able to manage. I try working ahead whenever possible. So, you know, a lot of times like further weeks in the course are accessible to you. So you can like start looking at lecture videos or even start an assignment early. And that'll definitely help give you that flexibility you need. Yeah, and like I've only ever had to ask for like an extension twice when I was like traveling on a weekend or had like a really busy week at work. But as long I think as long as you're looking ahead and looking at the full course schedule, you should have the ability to manage your time. So it's just about planning it out finding what pace works for you, and then just devoting the time to it. I know a lot of people like working on the weekends because they're busy during the week, and I know a lot of people who like freeing up their weekends, so they just go all in during the week. So again, it's about finding what works for you. Yeah.
Okay, this question is about kind of twofold. How do you interact with your classmates, and how do you network with your classmates? So I guess one would be like, how do you approach team projects, and do you feel that there are networking opportunities?
Related to team projects, I'd say that not every class has group projects, but the programming ones so far have. And I found it to be fairly straightforward to work with classmates on those group projects. Even when I was working from China, I was able to find other students who are working from East Asia, and we were in more similar time zones so that we could do live calls a little bit more easily. And I think something I've noticed is that it may be a little bit difficult to get people from Europe, Middle East, Africa, Asia, and the Americas time zone all at the same time. It's usually like two of the three. It's like night for one, morning for the other, but all three is a little bit difficult. So I've been able to find groups in those time zones and collaborate with students. We also have a very active Slack community, and we have like a question and answer forum as well for our classes. In terms of networking, I found it to be very good actually, and that's something that surprised me a little bit when I learned about all my classmates' backgrounds, because we have people who are mid-career, late career, who have really been great resources for me to learn about the industry and learn about different roles that exist. We have an entrepreneurship and jobs committee in the MCIT Online Student Association. We have a professional services director, I think that's her title, Emily, who makes webinars related to this from the admin side. And I've personally been able to get referrals to a lot of really great companies from other classmates when I was looking for jobs. So I think the network is really great.
Yeah, I think the diversity of the student body has really surprised me. Like there are people who are working for like huge and like important tech companies right now who are your classmates, so like they might not be working like as a software engineer, but they're still in that company. And or sometimes they have experience like working with certain type of software that you might not like really know about. So teaming up for like team projects, also like some of just discussing on Slack, like a lot of people have like great advice or constantly like posting jobs from their company. Also, like if you have the initiative, you can like meet people like in person too, because the chances are that like, there's someone who works at least kind of close to you. So for instance, I met up with someone from one of my classes in person in Los Angeles. So, now I have like a friend in Los Angeles that I didn't have before, thanks to the program. And I'm sure there are more people in Los Angeles who I have yet to reach out to. So yeah, I think the opportunities for like networking are absolutely there. And I think it's one of the big reasons like people choose a program like UPenn's MCIT degree, because they know like the quality of students is really high, and a lot of the students are already doing amazing things. So yeah, it's a great student body, and you can definitely, everyone's really open to like reaching out to people. So yeah.
I was going to say that as well. It seems like there's very much a culture of generosity in terms of, like, hey, my company is hiring. If you want me to hook you up with a recruiter, let me know, like that kind of thing. And I'll just say that MCIT Online students also have the ability to connect with all of the alumni at Penn. So there's kind of like a broader social network that connects with the entire University of Pennsylvania community. And so our students are a part of that.
Oh, right. I actually just joined like the Penn Club of Los Angeles, and then like the coronavirus hit, and now I'm not attending any event. But otherwise, seems like an awesome resource.
Yeah, there are these Penn clubs around the world that Penn students can participate in, and so that's exciting because it could be a potentially in-person interaction. Okay, I talked about this a little bit in my 30-second presentation, but what is the format of your assignments, or could you explain a little bit what that's like to do your work on your homework.
Yeah, so something Ben mentioned earlier that I do think is a really great benefit to this program is that all our lectures are pre-recorded and we're able to watch them in our own time. So for those of us who are working, it's a really great opportunity to get ahead when you can, to just watch a lecture in your lunch break or do all of that when you have time. And our assignments as well, I think are really well suited to the nature of the program and giving us flexibility. We have some auto-graded assignments, which takes the pressure off the TAs a little bit. And those are mostly coding assignments where it produces a certain output and we look for that output. But we also have TA-graded assignments where they're looking at style, they're looking at code comments. And on top of that, we do have some group projects that can be a little bit more freeform. So in our first class, I worked with a couple classmates on analyzing data from Chinese companies' financial statements and seeing if they differed from how much they reported. And that was really interesting to me to kind of be able to define our own project and work through that. And I think Ben can fill in the gaps because I've forgotten about many assignments.
Yeah, so I think you hit most of them. There's also like a few peer graded assignments, but there's programming assignments, team collaborations. There's a few quizzes, but they tend to be fairly easy and help you out more than anything. There's of course midterms and final exams. So not every course has like a midterm. And then I like, so the team collaboration projects can be really cool. Angela just mentioned the one she worked on. The one I did for my intro to the 591 intro CS class was one of my teammates actually worked like for the Child Mind Institute. So she had like a bunch of data for kids who are like on the autism spectrum. And so she had all these like brain scans. And what we were able to do is like read in the brain scans with like some machine learning code. And again, we'd never done this, but we like read that in, and basically using that data, we use that as input for a video game. So essentially, if you did like a certain movement with your hand, it would send like a certain kind of data to our game, and the game would respond like maybe by making like your hot air balloon fly higher. So it was literally like a video game you could play with your mind potentially, which sounds crazy. And I never would have thought of like doing something like that. But, you know, it just happened to be this collaboration because I had this partner who was like working on like at a really cool company, and she had a really cool data set that we were able to use. And that's just awesome. Those are like the kinds of collaborations that this program makes possible. But yeah, there's a wide like plethora of and diversity of assignments. So you'll like some of them, you'll hate others, you know, but they're all useful for your education, I guess.
Okay, now I'm going to move into some of the questions that are being submitted right now. And one of the themes we're seeing is what kind of interactions do you have as a student with TAs and professors? Another way to say it is what kind of support do you get?
So we have private office hours and open office hours. Private office hours are kind of 15-minute one-on-one blocks that students are able to sign up with their TAs and sometimes professors. And open office hours are kind of 1 hour long blocks where professors or TAs are able to answer questions from anyone who comes into the room. And these are recorded, whereas the private ones are not. We also have recitation sessions, which I touched on a little bit before, but these are kind of live walkthroughs in some sense. It depends on the class, but I found those to be really interesting as well, and those are recorded. So
yeah, for those, you'll get like a specific activity to like follow along.
Yeah, so I found that the interaction has been quite good with the TAs and professors, more than I anticipated. And we also have a Q&A forum called Piazza, where you're able to ask more directed questions that are related to homework or any thoughts you had if you're not able to attend live sessions. Is there anything I'm missing, Ben?
No, I think that was pretty thorough. We can skip my little portion.
I'm just realizing, Ben, you have the harder job because
I have to come up with new material every time, and Angela's so thorough.
Okay, well, let's mix it up. Let's let you go first this time. We'll really
all right.
Great. Let's see, what do I want to do next?
Great. We just happen to be out of questions, I guess.
Not quite, not quite. I guess, what is your impression about how many of your classmates do you think are wanting to be software engineers when they grow up versus
Oh.
something else?
Yeah, I don't know percentages, but I don't think all of them want to be software engineers actually. Like a lot of them are just like, I'm working in finance right now. I really like my job, but they're looking for someone who has like more technical knowledge, and I want to like help fill that role. So it's just like an expansion of their responsibilities, or to be able to like to continue contributing to their company as their company evolves. Other classmates of mine say like, I don't want to be a software engineer. I want to be a product manager. And I just want to have like this technical background because I'm going to be working with like tech teams. So yeah, software engineer isn't like the only outcome people are looking for out of these programs. So I think it's pretty varied. Angela, do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. I think it's actually a minority, and like fewer than 50%, I would say. I can't go into more details than that. I have no idea. But from the people who are looking for internships or entry level jobs, I think we do speak about it, and we've kind of helped each other in preparing for interviews and such. And my impression is that it's not a huge percentage, but if you are in that group, there is a support group available for you.
Yeah, I think I'm like kind of in that group, and I think maybe that's how a lot of people feel like they're like kind of like interested in software engineering, but they also have like a unique background, right? So that's the thing about software engineering, right? It's not just like one role that exists out there. It's like oftentimes like the roles you see nowadays at tech companies are a bit of a fusion of roles. It's like maybe like a design side with like a technical side, and so I think like having this MCIT degree. If you want to go be a software engineer, you can go do that. Like there are plenty of like alumni who have graduated from this program and become software engineers. If you wanted to just like enrich your career or just give you more career options, that's totally possible too. So again, it's like how you steer your career, and this is like a tool to help you steer in the direction you want. So it's really important for you to define your goals, as we mentioned earlier. Yeah.
One of my good friends is a tech journalist, and he just wanted to do the program to learn a little bit more about the technology he's working in. We also have people who are like executives or just want to become entrepreneurs and want to get connected with a different network. So it's really just a really diverse group of people, and anyone can really get what they want out of the program.
This is a question. It's Ben, you kind of alluded to this with the math symbology that you learned, but what are some of the...
Am I gonna be quizzed on my math abilities right now? Because if so, I take everything I said back.
Well, the question is, what are some of the unexpected benefits of the program that you may not have considered or expected before applying? And maybe we've covered this already. I'm just curious if there's anything else.
Yeah, so definitely, I thought discrete math. I wasn't too excited for the course because I didn't find it to be like applicable. But as I mentioned, it ended up being highly applicable. Also, 593, the third program in the course, is you start delving into hardware, which really doesn't like connect with anything I do right now. Like not directly, of course, it's like a good foundation, but I find that hardware part like so interesting, and I'm kind of hoping that there are more courses down the line that delve into the hardware. But I think so far I've seen most of the courses I've taken have focused on like software, 2 out of 4. But I don't know. I kind of like that there's such a broad range. I don't know. Do you have any other input, Angela? Unexpected, things that you came across in the program?
I think honestly taking advantage of my student status, like on a superficial level. I get student discounts everywhere, but on a more interesting level, I've been able to attend hackathons, become eligible for these internships, and that's something that I wouldn't have been able to do if I weren't an officially enrolled
tons
student.
of discounts now, and
Yeah.
and yeah, you can enter things that you couldn't. So yeah, the student status is definitely a good bonus. You even get like a Penn card. It doesn't have your photo; it has like the photo of some statue on it, but still cool.
A very famous statue. So along the lines of the TA instructor support, walk us through that if you're a scenario where you run into a challenge, a major challenge on an assignment, what would you do, or how would you?
Yeah. So basically, so if you have like an issue with like your specific code, talking about it in like recitation or office hours probably isn't the best place because the TA won't have enough time to like veer from like the recitation, and then we also don't want to show your code to like everyone who's on the recitation. So I've found for me personally, I like posting like a snippet of code privately to like the instructors. If I'm like specifically stuck and like I don't know what I've written or what I've written like makes sense to me, but just isn't working as I expected. So Piazza is like a great like tool for like debugging code. I think like you can like post code blocks. You can also sign up for office hours. Those you just need to come like prepared with your questions because like they're not an hour long. They're called office hours, but they're not an hour long. So you just need to come prepared with your questions, and then you get to share your screen, right? You'll do like a Zoom meeting with your TA, like we're doing now. There's like a little share button, and it'll share your screen, and then you can literally show them your code, and they can show you their screen as well. So it's very close to like collaborating in person. Maybe, even better because they're like forced to look at your code and like don't have to look at your screen. I don't know. I like it. I find it really useful for debugging code.
Some of our classmates also lead study groups on their own. So like you're not supposed to collaborate on the homework itself because then your answers are the same as theirs. But in terms of just understanding concepts and going through alternate problems, that's something that I've seen quite a few classmates set up on their own. They do it evenings after people are off work or weekends when everyone's off.
Yeah, and just to clarify, all the students in the degree program have access to Zoom like we're using now. So all the recitations, the live sessions are conducted through Zoom. So it's virtually face-to-face, and then students can Zoom each other outside of class.
Also, I would add this is like using Zoom or like some web platform is like fairly common, similar to like what I do on a daily basis at my job, because even at my previous jobs we had like offices around the world. Right now half of my company is like remote, so when we're discussing code we do exactly what I do for this online program. We like open up Zoom and discuss the issue. So honestly, I almost feel like it might be better practice because you're not always going to be in the same room as a person that you're coding with. So.
Okay, somebody asks, what is the acceptance rate into the program? And I can take that one. We don't disclose our acceptance rate, but I can say that it's competitive. That being said, Ben and Angela mentioned in terms of advice that it's helpful to have clear goals in your personal statement. I can also say that it's helpful to demonstrate experience with online learning. So on your resume or in your personal statement, mentioning one or more online classes that you've taken in the past is very helpful for us because we want to admit people who will be successful in learning in this format. And so another thing is that people want to know if they should take the GRE or not. And I would say there's certain situations where it's very, very helpful to take the GRE. One is if your undergraduate experience was a long time ago. If you take the GRE, that shows a more current measure of your abilities. Another situation would be if your grades in your undergraduate experience were not as high as maybe you would want them to be. Again, if you take the GRE, that will be something that is a more current measure. And then finally, if you didn't take a lot of quantitative courses, in that case, almost definitely I would suggest taking the GRE because that's, again, a very concrete, measurable item that the committee can look at to assess your quantitative abilities. It doesn't have to be the GRE, but if there's nothing quantitative to go off of that's been graded in some kind of official way, it's very difficult for us to assess whether you'll be able to succeed in the program or not. I don't know if Angela and Ben, you have any other thoughts on that. I know it's a very popular topic.
It's always a mystery why you know, I don't know. They don't tell you why you got admitted. They just say congratulations. So I'm not sure I have any expertise to add here.
Okay. This is a question that I'm just making up right now, but do you think that employers are familiar with the MCIT degree? Like, do you have any concerns about that?
Some definitely are, like, in a positive way. Like those that know about it look at it positively is like my general impression of it. I know, I think like Comcast, we did like a webinar with someone from them, and they were like, "Oh, we love the MCIT degree," and like, "Oh, it's so great you're doing this program," and I was like, "Wow." And conversely, I've never heard anyone say like, "Oh, I've heard of that program, hate it." Like it's, you know, everyone who knows about it likes it and thinks highly of it. And there's like, you know, on my LinkedIn, I just see like uh, this many like people from like UPenn work at this company, and like so there's like a good number. And like if you actually look at like who works at that company, a lot of them like have the MCIT degree. Yeah, I think it looks positive. Angela, you've applied more recently using the MCIT degree, so I think you'd have an interesting perspective.
Yeah, thanks, Ben. I did apply to a lot of internships over the fall, and I guess overwhelmingly the response was positive. Again, I don't know if this is like biased because I didn't speak to the people who may not have liked the degree, so I don't really know. But of the people I spoke to, some of them didn't know I was in this online program or this different graduate degree, and when I explained it, I think it really stood out in a positive way. Most of my I think interviewers really enjoyed that I had different work experience, a different life experience, and that I was spending my free time to learn something that other students are doing in their like traditional undergraduate period of time. So I think it's been overwhelmingly positive, and I haven't heard anything directed to me that suggested otherwise. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess so. For me personally, so the game industry is like known like for having like notoriously like bad working hours, like you work like really late and stuff. So for me personally, I guess one of my concerns has been like, okay, since I have this MCIT degree and they know like I'm using like my nights to like work on it, like are they gonna feel like I don't have enough time to like invest in the company because like, you know, the hours are so long? And I haven't found that to be the case. Like I've talked to recruiters and like, you know, people in like the video game industry, and no one seems to mind. They're like, if you're managing it now, like, I don't know. I think people see you as more responsible, if anything. So yeah. And also, I don't know, now that like the coronavirus hit and everyone's online, doing an online program is very normal.
Yeah, I mean, that's the only good thing is that our students have been already set up with the infrastructure to continue their studies. So we're very grateful for that. Okay, we are going to wrap up our interview. I want to very much thank Angela and Ben for joining us today. We're so grateful for your time. And I know, you know, I can talk all day long, but to hear from your personal experiences and to give your personal time means a lot. So thank you so much. And what we're going to do is say goodbye, but we're going to stay logged in, and my team is going to continue answering some of the questions in the chat tool for a little while longer. So again, we will post this recording as soon as we can get it edited. Thank you so much for joining us today. I hope everyone stays safe and healthy and well, and enjoy the rest of your day.